You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the October 15th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting and Special Council meeting for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I'm Florence Mitchell. In the Special Council meeting, Council will move to give Bylaw 01-25 relating to the composition of Council its third and final reading by title. The Committee of the Whole meeting begins with a presentation of radon testing results by Pam Workington, Executive Director of the Canadian Association of Radon Scientists and Technologists. There will also be a presentation by the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods program. Additionally, a group of concerned citizens will also speak to committee. Under new business, Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Peters and Sergeant Pierre Ladouceur of the New Brunswick RCMP will provide a community safety update and a quarterly report. Councillor Heislip will provide an update on the world's oldest basketball court, and Deputy Mayor Wheaton and Councillor Rodas will provide a healthcare update. Additionally, Mayor McEachern will provide an update on the water quality of the St. Croix River. Committee will move that the amended draft of Municipal Plan Bylaw M4 be referred to the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee for their views. Finally, Committee will move to incorporate recommended changes to Zoning Bylaw Z4 and to refer the amended draft of that bylaw to PRAC for their views. Now let's join Council in the L.K. Toombs room at the Garcelon Civic Centre in St. Stephen.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, we're going to start off with our special council meeting for Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. 6:05 actually, probably. Just bear with us tonight. I'm sure we'll have some more technical difficulties tonight. It's not our regular place to hold a meeting, and we're doing our best, including CHCO is doing their best for the changes we've presented them tonight as well. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered today on ancestral unceded territory of the Passamaquoddy people. And I need a mover and seconder for the agenda for the special council meeting of October 15th, 2025 be approved. Councillor Harding? Councillor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Let's see. And I should ask, is everything all sounding okay for you folks? Okay. All right. And out there? Okay. Thank you. All right. Any conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none. Okay. I'll take a mover and seconder for the third and final reading. Proposed resolution that Bylaw 01-25, a bylaw relating the composition of Municipal District of St. Stephen Council, be given its third and final reading by title only. I heard Councillor Heislip and Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Questions? Okay, that's going to test us here. Okay, how are we going to do this? All right, just put that up. Councillor Wright.
Okay. Now, are there any questions or clarification for anybody who might not have been following along? This final reading is what we'll finish it. It's just to reduce the size of council from the 9 of us to 7. There would be 3 councillors from the rural ward. It would be just 1 rural ward, and 3 councillors from the urban ward, and 1 mayor elected at large. So that's the sum total of what we're voting on tonight, just for clarification in case anybody wasn't familiar.
Okay, any further questions or comments from council? Okay, all right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Nope. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right. And also take mover and seconder to adjourn the special council meeting. Councillor Greenlaw, Councillor Harding. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Now we're moving into the Municipal District Committee of the Whole agenda, Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 6:12. Let's see. Approval of the agenda. I'll take mover and seconder that the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting, October 15th, 2025, be approved. Councillor Greenlaw? Councillor Cornish? Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Agenda approved. Any conflicts of interest on this agenda? Seeing none. Okay. Mover and seconder for the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on September 11th, 2025 be approved as presented. I heard Councillor Heislip and Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to go into a presentation by Safer Communities and Neighborhoods, SCAN, program presentation. Inspector LaFrance and Investigator Cormier will be present. And welcome.
Good afternoon. So this is a little different than what we typically do for a presentation. We usually face that crowd
Yeah.
and usually have our monitor, but
Well,
we're going to go through it here anyway. And,
yeah. So yeah, you might
Yeah.
want to stand close to the mic there. And
All right, yes. So yeah, I'll go ahead with the presentation, and like Inspector LaFrance just said afterwards.
we got it. We got it. Hold on.
Oh, how are we making it? Oh, there we go. How's that? Good for everybody
Yeah,
back here? Yep. All right, perfect. Yeah, we'll go ahead with the presentation, and then for council, we'll see whether or not there's any questions afterwards, and I don't know whether or not you'll have questions from the public after that or anything, but we'll address that as need be. I'm an investigator with the Department of Justice Public Safety. My primary focus is on the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods unit. There's 6 provincially supported SCAN units in Canada, New Brunswick being one of them, along with Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, and Yukon. We all pretty much work the same premise for SCAN. SCAN is a civil legislation that deals with property owners and the people that live inside the residences with adverse activity that takes place. There we are. So the legislative intent as it relates to SCAN, you can go through this whole slide if you'd like here, provides assistance to traditional police enforcement activities. So we're not necessarily an alternative to law enforcement, but we work as an additional tool along with them. SCAN allows confidential reporting of specified illegal activities to a civil investigation unit. What we do, our purpose is to deter habitual and adverse criminal behavior from taking root in communities and neighborhoods. We hold owners and occupants of that property responsible for where illegal activities habitually occur. SCAN complaints come into us. We determine whether or not someone is being adversely affected by that particular activity, which we'll get into in the next couple of slides. That activity has to be habitual, it has to be adverse impact on that community, and it also has to fall within our mandate. SCAN has a specific criteria that we have to follow in order to proceed with a community complaint. The next slide, I believe, might get into that. The community, there it is. The community must be affected by the activity. And when we say community, that means that someone has to live either nearby on that street, in that neighborhood, or if it's a multi-unit apartment building, they have to live inside that apartment building. A landlord can reach out to us, but if a landlord's not an owner-occupied landlord, we wouldn't be able to use their complaint. They would have to have somebody that's in that building or nearby and that's being affected by that activity. That activity has to affect the health, safety, or security of that resident. The activity has to interfere with peaceful enjoyment of their property. You know, a lot of times we'll have complainants that are fearful of being outside, going for walks, that type of thing. The activity has to be habitual. I believe our next slide will talk about that habitual activity. And there's a rebuttable presumption that that community is adversely affected. When we do an investigation, the outcome can either be not founded. We'll receive a complaint, and as we investigate, we just determine that the activities is not as founded as what it originally came in as, so it's not founded, or it's founded activity. And there's a few different options that we'll get into that we can resolve that by a few different ways, through the courts or through voluntary removal of a tenant, problem tenant. Okay, you can go ahead to the next slide there. The elements of the illegal activity required, as I mentioned, these habitual activities need to be ongoing. We need to determine whether or not that activity that's taking place is consistent, it's ongoing, it's nonstop, it's affecting the daily lives of the residents that's taking place there. As I mentioned, it has to be on or near the property. It can't be a complaint that comes into the neighborhood and it's a concerned citizen for a location that's within town limits, but they don't live within the near vicinity. And that activity needs to be used at the location as a specified use as defined by the legislation in the SCAN Act. So I believe the next slide may explain a little bit more of that specified use. Here it is. So SCAN's mandate involves investigation that involve these particular items that you see on the screen here: drugs, liquor, intoxicants, cannabis, prostitution, illegal gaming, child sexual abuse, exploitation, organized crime, and firearms or explosives. So what, sorry?
Contraband cigarettes.
Contraband cigarettes is on there as well. What you don't see on here are the general nuisance items that towns may encounter on a frequent or on a frequent basis, such as vandalism, property crime, stolen goods, stolen property, vagrancy, those types of things. Those types of things are left to local law enforcement. However, on the next slide, you'll probably see that the majority of our criminal activity is a result of illegal drug activity. 99 times out of 100 for SCAN, our complaints are drug activity, which would be illegal drug use, drug sales, drug visits to a house, frequent, consistent visits that take place over the course of days and weeks that affect the health and the safety and the concern of the residents. SCAN, you can go ahead to the next slide there. The number one reason for SCAN and our success is the confidential complaint process. So when a individual reaches out to SCAN, either through email or through our 1-800 number, it's not anonymous, but it's confidential. So we'll receive the complainant's name and number. Myself or one of the other investigators in the province will reach out to them. I cover Sussex to St. Stephen, the southern part of the province. We'll reach out to obtain a statement from them to find out just exactly what it is that's taking place there. And I make sure to inform the complainant that their identity is kept confidential throughout the entire process. The complainant's name or anything like that is not brought up to anybody else. It's not brought up to law enforcement. In the court system, they're not required to testify in court. I do all of that on their behalf. And under the legislation, SCAN cannot and will not release any information identifying the complainant. So that tries to give a little peace of mind to the people that are reaching out to SCAN, that their identity will be kept confidential throughout the entire process. A lot of times people are in fear of their neighbor or their tenant or something along those lines that they don't really wish to come forward, but for SCAN we try our best to make sure that they're aware that their identity is kept confidential throughout the entire process. They won't be required to be in court. Any evidence that they do give to me, I use as an affidavit for court. I don't use any particular evidence that would give their name out in any way whatsoever. So our investigative process, you can go ahead through this whole slide there. It's initiated when a complaint, as I mentioned, receives from a resident of that particular community. We'll validate the complaint through interviews, witness accounts. We work with local law enforcement and stakeholders to build our case in the file. As mentioned, if the case is unfounded, no one in the community will be aware there's an investigation. We don't go to the subject of complaint and let them know right away that there's a scan investigation taking place. We follow all our steps to make sure that we only contact them if needed, and whether or not we need to follow through in the process there. Go ahead with the next slide there. So when a scan complaint is initiated and we've conducted our investigation, informal resolutions can take place, and those are usually done through one of two ways. Once is the voluntary compliance of the subject. Either we've issued a warning letter to the tenant and to the property owner for asking for that activity to stop, and if it stops, then that kind of leaves the file to end as is. Sometimes the subject leaves the premise either through an end of a lease, or they move away, or they just they're not part of that particular location, so they've moved on. Voluntary compliance through a third party like that, and also a resolution can take place as a result of a scan investigation, which leads to an eviction by a landlord or an eviction by social development. We deal with both private housing, and we deal with public housing through Housing New Brunswick as well. Each time, as I mentioned, the activity can be founded, and then it's on to the onus of the property owner to take steps to resolve the situation. Most times that's through reaching out to the Tenant and Landlord Relations Board, that also was known as the rentalsman, to initiate an eviction that way.
So SCAN has a very good working relationship with the Rentals Tribunal. Since I've been involved, we've created an agreement, and we work well together, so that when there is a situation that there's an issue with a drug dealer or drug use in a certain area, and it's through a landlord process, when it's through a landlord process, I'll reach out to the Rentals Tribunal, and they can usually take care of the problem within a week, rather than having to wait 30 days, which is typical wait time for an eviction process under the tribunal.
Other resolution options that SCAN does have at their disposal are community safety warnings. As I mentioned, most times for an investigation, if we've determined that illegal activity is taking place, we start with what's called a community safety warning. It advises the resident of that location and or the property owner that illegal activity is taking place and needs to stop immediately. If that activity does not stop, and it looks like that it won't stop, SCAN applies to the Court of King's Bench of New Brunswick for what's called a community safety order. That's where we would ask a justice of the court to grant the province ownership of that particular location for a period of up to 90 days. We go and basically, oh, here we are right here. So we would apply for a community safety order with or without a closure order against the property. We vacate that building. Anybody that's not lawfully supposed to be there, they're removed. We board the place up. As you've seen, there's a couple of places that we've had in St. Stephen in the past couple of years that have fallen under that closure order. And there's also a chance that we also may have to apply to the bench for an emergency closure order as well if the activities are paramount and need to be dealt with immediately. The court process, as mentioned previously, it's a civil process that takes place in the Court of King's Bench, and the burden of proof in a civil court is a lot different than criminal court, whereas we're trying to determine a balance of probabilities to a civil judge that these activities are taking place. That's done by way of primarily by affidavit. For SCAN, obviously, we do a lot of legwork and we do a lot of investigating to make sure that a particular location is falling under these guidelines to support our application for a community safety order. Provincial civil litigation attorneys represent SCAN in court proceedings regarding these community safety orders, and the entire court process is handled by the unit. So as I previously mentioned, no complainant is involved in this process or is required to attend court. I do all of that on their behalf. The options of the court. So the options of the court basically the issue an order to vacate to all people that are inside that building. We can make exceptions for particular tenants or residents that may be involved in a building that are living in a separate unit and don't have anything to do with that particular complaint. The judge may make certain options for them. Most likely the property will be vacated completely and closed for up to 90 days at a time. At that point, after the 90 days pass, it is released back to the property owner, and the clock just starts again for us to apply to court again to restart another CSO. There are times that an emergency closure order would need to be issued for serious immediate threats, and we also tried to terminate commercial or residential tenancy agreements, as well as Inspector LaFrance mentioned, through the Rentals and Tenant Relations Board.
The judge has the authority under the Act to terminate leases. So if there's a 5-year lease on a place, that doesn't matter. The judge can terminate that through the SCAN Act. And also another, I'll just make a point here. Of the buildings that we've shut down in the last 10 years, none have reopened as a drug house. So usually by the time the 90 days are up, they're gone, they're done, it's over. Sometimes the properties get turned over to the province. And in some cases, a contractor may purchase that property and refit it for, housing, but we've never had a return to an issue with a particular property. We've had issues with the same person, but not at the same property.
Okay. You go ahead to the next slide, yeah. Fortified buildings criteria. So one of the other things that SCAN takes care of as well is fortified buildings. If we've become aware of a place that has any reinforcements that make it difficult for occupants to escape in the case of an emergency or a fire, or for emergency responders to enter the building, we can take actions on that particular property. Exceeds reasonable security measures. So if obviously, for example, material covering the doors and windows, so plywood over the windows from the inside, or wooden 2x4s across the door frames, metal plating or armored doors, all those types of things fall under SCAN's mandate to be able to address those issues and try to remove them as quickly as possible.
So,
go ahead.
So typically, the reason for this section of the SCAN Act, excuse me, is because it's a known fact that drug dealers will reinforce their entries to prevent police from entering the building so that they can destroy their evidence before the police get in. So this is why that section is added to the Act. All the photos you're going to see are actual houses that we've gone in and vacated the properties and that they've been fortified, such as this place here.
Hey, go ahead. Yes, here's an example of a reinforced door here. I think Inspector LaFrance, this was where, sorry? This was in Moncton. It's just a metal door frame. I think that's a staircase. You can go to the next slide. I think it's a staircase that was going up. Oh, okay. The director will consider whether or not is this building a threat to public safety based on the number and type of fortifications. Could these fortifications impair the ability of first responders and law enforcement to respond to that particular location during an emergency, or impair the ability of the people inside to escape in the event of emergency? The nature of the neighborhood or the area in which the fortified building is located. So as he mentioned, if it's a high traffic area or it's known to law enforcement as being a location that's used for illegal drug activity, those particular places are fortified quite heavily. And once SCAN is aware of that location, we'll take steps to address that. Next slide, I believe, will take care of. No, the next slide is the example of concealed fortification. So yeah, there's plywood on the windows there. Yeah. So the director will. Oh, perfect. That's great. Thank you. You go ahead to the next one. The director will consider whether the fortifications are reasonably necessary given the purpose for which the fortified building is being used. whether any criminal activity or other disruptive behavior has taken place in and around the Fortified building, and the proximity of the Fortified building to schools, playgrounds, and other places where children are likely to be present. The removal order that SCAN can follow is designated as a threat to public safety. The Inspector LaFrance here will issue a removal order which provides a minimum of 21 days for that property owner to remove those fortifications. We may enter the building to verify those fortifications have been removed after those 21 days. The owner and occupant may ask for a judicial review, so they can appeal that to court whether or not those fortifications are worthy of staying. But for SCAN, once we've determined that a place has been fortified, we give the 21-day notice for those things to be taken down, taken out and removed, and we'll go back to make sure that that's taken place.
And if they're not removed after 21 days, we take possession of the property, and we remove them, and they get the bill.
There's a couple additional photos of that fortified door. As you can see in the second photo to the right there, there's two sliding locks into the bottom, and I think probably out of frame is just a wooden brace on the door frame on the bottom, just to make sure that there's no forced entry from law enforcement. Closure order, as Inspector LaFrance just mentioned, if it's not removed on or before the date, the director shall issue a order closing the fortified building and keeping it closed for a period of not more than 90 days to allow the director to remove the specified fortifications. And the director shall, at the appropriate land registration office, register a closure order against the affected title. The owner occupant may bear the cost of the investigation and labor during that investigation as well. I believe this is the last slide here. SCAN works with our neighborhoods and committed to creating a safe place to live. In most cases, SCAN can quickly conduct an investigation resulting in timely results. We have the option of non-judicial and judicial outcomes to resolve the problem. SCAN conducts all court proceedings independent of the complainant, and the complainant's confidentiality is of the utmost of importance. So, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, that SCAN does receive a lot of complaints that involve traffic to and from a location. Once SCAN's able to determine that particular activity can be linked to habitual activity taking place, whether or not it's drugs or firearms or prostitution, one of those things in our mandate, and whether or not the people that are involved in this particular complaint can be linked to the property itself, whether it be the property owner, whether or not he has people, hang-arounds, friends, associates that he or she deals with inside or outside their home or residence, and whether or not that activity is adversely affecting the community as a whole. We can certainly investigate that. We work closely with the RCMP and municipal police in order to share information back and forth to get as quick of a resolution as possible. And basically, if anybody is willing to reach out to SCAN, that's our toll-free complaint line there, 1-877-826-2122, or you can reach out at scan@gnp.ca. Once again, it's not completely anonymous, but it's confidential. Once we receive your name and your number, myself or another investigator is the only one that basically knows that we've talked after that. That's it for the presentation. Or any questions from council?
Oh, I guess I can have that at the same time. Hold on. No, I can't turn that on. Yeah. Okay. So, oh, was this one on too? No?
That's the one that we should be giving her.
Oh. Well, no, I was gonna let you go. Go ahead. I would have thanked them, but I'll do that after.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Okay. Thanks. I'm Councilor Rhodes. I just have one question here. So, what are the limitations of SCAN when it comes to government-funded nonprofits or property properties. So obviously, I mean, the elephant in the room is our local shelter. We also have, you know, many MB housing units that may be struggling with this, as well as I'm learning about jails or just any government mandated program or funded nonprofit. What's the line there in terms of what you can do? Because I would imagine it would be hard, you know, if GMB is mandated to come up with programming to support individuals with substance use, and yet the answer is closing, I'm wondering about the after step. So when SCAN's involved, does RCMP step back? You know, is there collaboration between the Department of Social Development, the Department of Health, Addictions and Mental Health? Because obviously we know individuals with substance use often access shelters, you know. Individuals without substance use also access shelters. I have families reaching out to me right now, a family of 6 looking for a place to go within the next 4 weeks, and that may be the only hope at the end of the day. So I'm just trying to understand in terms of, you know, the eviction notice, the closure, the 90 days is up, what's next? And how do you kind of partner with other GMB programs within your mandate of public safety?
So you're asking what happens to those people in the closure situation?
I'm asking, like, if it's a government mandated program, or it's a nonprofit supporting a government mandate, like a shelter or, you know, a hospital or a jail, you know, what are your limitations as to what you can ethically do?
Under our act, we have that option of an informal resolution, and then actually here in St. Stephen, that's what we did with this.
Mic, please.
The mic's off. So here in St. Stephen, we did receive a complaint about the shelter uptown. So as I said, one of our options is an informal resolution. Not always, obviously not. If it's a government-funded program, we're not going to go in and close them down for 90 days. That's kind of defeating the purpose of the program, right? So we worked with social development. We expressed our concerns over the activities that were taking place there, and they've taken steps to mitigate those issues as much as they can. And as you see, they've fenced that area in. They've closed it off so it's not openly visible to the public. And you know, that was what we'd asked them to do, and to maintain as much as they can, because that's right, they don't have any authority over the street, but trying to maintain, we know there was drug use taking place there, to maintain those people within the parameters of their property.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Can you? Okay. So my other question is just, I'm a social worker in healthcare, so I actually, you know, I've been in the shelter. We have people that are discharged from the hospital to the shelter, if you can imagine. So that's the struggle that I'm trying to understand is, you know, even when the shelter is, for instance, cooperative around the substance use that's happening and they only have so much control, the solution also for them would be to put in firm boundaries, such as, you know, banning certain individuals. Now, I know from my personal employment that they also grapple with the fact that they're told under certain circumstances when people are vulnerable that they can't ethically ban them long-term or evict them long-term. So then you have this outflow that's happening, you know, around the entire neighborhood. It just seems it's unfair to those who are accessing the shelter, trying their best, and then it's unfair to the employees that put it on them to manage it, and then it's unfair to the residents around, and it all feels unfair. But I'm also a social worker and I understand. I'm just wondering too about, have they implemented other solutions in St. John or Moncton when it comes to, you know, GMB funding, private security outside to try to mitigate those risks? Or is that something that SCAN, you know, would offer up or suggest? It feels like you guys kind of cut your losses at the end of the day too and say we've done all we can here, but everyone in this room feels that way and we feel that way too. So it's nice to hear from you, because I can hear your limitations as well. You're saying, you know, we board up a property and we're done, but then it's the same person is moving on to the next, right?
So I guess I'll answer that by saying, is that on? There we I'll answer that by saying this. So SCAN was brought into place in 2009. I was a police officer in 2009, and I can tell you that in the city of St. John, it did not look like it does today. So obviously there's been changes, and so SCAN was brought in to assist communities and neighborhoods who want to protect themselves, right, from typically drug dealers in a drug house. Now the situation is different, obviously, with the shelters and with the homelessness and all that. So for SCAN, we are doing whatever we can to try to mitigate that problem and take care of the issue. But times have changed, things have changed, and I think it's probably something that the government would have to look at if they want to introduce something more in regards to the shelters and the homeless places where people are. It's not really a SCAN issue per se.
Well, I think that was still on, maybe. Hello, okay. Yeah, so no, thank you for that. My question is, when you mentioned someone that's, when you do SCAN and you remove the people from that building, and when you go to another site, another SCAN's in operation, you see the same individual, is the process different, or do you just start right from scratch again?
No, every investigation is separate, so we have to start from scratch again and go through the same process because at the end of the day, we have to prove to a court that these activities are habitual, typically drug-related, have an impact on the community. So, yeah, we have to go through the same process. Now, when I said we've dealt with the same people before, I can count on one hand how many times I've dealt with that same person, right? So it's very rare.
Yeah, like like for SCAN, most times like our investigation is property driven, not necessarily client or subject driven. Yeah. So each file comes in basically as an address, and we'll be lucky to know if we know who the subject is from a prior instance. In a place like St. Stephen, that's a smaller municipality, it makes it a little easier to determine who's who when you're investigating more than one place. But no, each file that comes in is usually treated as the property first, and then the associates that follow along after that. It just so happens that when you deal with multiple locations in a small municipality, the same kind of people kind of come up.
Okay, thanks. So no, this isn't working anymore. Okay. I got you, I hear you. I'm doing tech at the same time as Mayor in here. Our Council Cornish.
Can you hear me all right? All right. Just a question. We've adopted a little slogan down here. We have closed up several buildings over the last couple of years. And the word down here seems to be the right word. And we call it pop-a-mole. In other words, whack-a-mole, so I mean. And it seems to be as fast as we shut them down, board them up, within minutes or hours for sure, not days, they move within feet, not miles, into the next property. So we close that one, pops up here. So how does the SCAN keep up with this type of movement? I understand you have to have a number of days in order to apply for it, but as these little moles are popping up everywhere, it must be very difficult for you to enforce that particular thing. Any questions, any answers on that?
It is difficult sometimes to keep up, but St. Stephen is a very unique situation, and as councillors, I'm sure you're all aware what I'm going to say next. There were a number of properties purchased by a company in Alberta here that they have walked away from the properties. So we have no landlords to deal with. We don't have anyone else to fall back on. We have to do full-on investigations, take that property to court. We don't even have a defendant to come in and argue the fact. So really that's what's going on here, a lot of the cases, and that's right, they move from one vacant building to another because they're all vacant. And when we get the call, we come down, do our thing, and eventually we'll get them in front of a judge, and the judge will give us the closure order that we're looking for.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, well. That's all, it's live. Go ahead.
So you've been doing this a long time. So I like to speak just as a real person. You know, if I'm a citizen, if I'm a resident in my community, I recognize even that we can't rely on, you know, even our municipal council or our provincial, you know, government to fix this in 1 second. So if you, in all your years of doing this, were a property owner next door, how would you handle the situation? What would be kind of your first couple things that you would do to try to mitigate your own experience there happening in that community?
So are you asking that in relation to the Starshine properties?
Oh, hold, just 1 sec. Shut your mic off. Shut your mic off. Oh.
What was the question?
Are you asking me that question in relation to Starshine properties, or are you asking me that question in relation to any property?
Both.
Well, I can make a suggestion. I think that the council should go over and board up every one of those properties and secure them.
I got another one. Pass it over.
Pictures.
So, I get that. I agree, by the way. I think we all agree that we would love to be able to do that. However, we also have our own mandates here at a municipal level and our own provincial barriers that we have to tackle. So actually, at this point, I'm going to ask if Kathy Bacchus, the MLA, if you could stand up maybe. I'd like to hear comments since we're all here in the room and it doesn't happen often. If there is some way that we can all collaborate better, whether it's, you know, SCAN sitting with council writing letters of advocacy on behalf of SCAN so that you can do your job more effectively, and having the backing of the MLA here speaking to the situation, I think we could get somewhere. But this is the first time we've had all of us in a room, so we might as well take advantage of it. So Kathy, if you want to come up, if you have a couple words to say from your perspective, I think it would be helpful.
All right, no more mic for you.
She's ready.
Well, thank you for the invitation. And what's so funny, Ellen?
Oh, I just, no. There's nothing funny, actually.
Hey, listen, SCAN has my support. But more importantly, the people that are complaining about the units and where they are living next door to have my support. And I can't tell you how many times I have had phone calls and visits from people complaining about the activities going on next door to them, and then they contact SCAN, and SCAN can't do anything for them. So we need to, you've listed a whole lot of criteria that must be met in order for SCAN to move in. And from listening to what you're saying and listening to what the people that have contacted my office are saying, they've given you the criteria, but it's not happening. And they're living in hell, to put it bluntly. Pardon me?
Doesn't GNB establish their mandate?
I'm not sure, Emily, how that works.
How are you not sure? I'm serious.
Excuse me? I don't know how every single department in the government works, Emily.
They are employees.
Exactly. And if you'd like me to get that information, I can certainly provide it to you.
Well, you are the MLA, so I'd expect you to, thank you.
Like this? Okay.
Well,
Anyway,
you're next door. You have
you
an
asked
office
me.
next.
Pardon me?
You have an office very close to a lot of other people in the provincial government, Kathy.
Okay. All right, we gotta, sorry about that.
Thank
We
you.
need our MLA support to be able to do anything. We need every single person.
Yeah.
We need every single
Okay.
person in this
Okay.
room right now to come up with a solution.
Geez, I actually have to use it. Let's Bring her back.
Well, as I said, I get a lot of complaints, and we try to work with SCAN. In fact, I was just talking with the RCMP about one street and a situation, so,
I'll just say this,
Yeah.
we have 2 ongoing investigations here right now,
do you?
and I'm not aware, I'm the director, so I see every file that comes in from the province. I'm not aware of any other complaints in St. Stephen that we haven't acted on.
Well, I can, he said he wasn't aware, there's 2 active complaints in St. Stephen, and he wasn't aware of any other complaints that were going on. I can provide you with the information, and gladly would love to provide you with the information.
So that's the problem, is we can't take a complaint from the MLA.
Thank
We
you.
need to take a complaint from you guys.
Well, I can provide you with the names and phone numbers of the people who are
doesn't work that
complaining to me.
We can't solicit work either, just by the way. They've got a call. That's the way SCAN works.
Okay, give me your card, or do we call that?
We have a lot of pamphlets we're going to leave right here.
Okay, and I can hand them out to them,
You
yeah.
certainly can.
But we need help here in St. Stephen. We need
agree.
help.
But I agree with this councillor's comments. I think St. Stephen, it's a group effort here. Because
Sure it
It
is.
is a situation, right?
Yeah,
SCAN's doing our thing. We've closed 4 buildings here in the past 3 years. And like I say, we have 2 ongoing investigations right now. One, I think, is completed. One is not. And it's probably going to be a court hearing for this next
okay.
one.
Well, good luck with your work, because we sure need it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I'll just leave it on.
On a different note, appreciate your presentation. I've gone through a couple of them, I guess, and your suggestion about closing, council to close up every one, and I don't disagree with that, but you said you have to go through a judicial process in order to get your order to close it, so how do we get that? Why wouldn't they offer a blank one if it's all those ones that are having the problem? The judge just say, okay, you're allowed to close them all, because that's where they're popping up. And we're in the situation of how can we just walk on somebody else's property, start closing up their... So I just wanted to see if legally, right? So.
No, I agree. And like the councillor had said, I think it's a group effort, and maybe you've got to work with the provincial government to get that authority. For SCAN, we must investigate each one. We just can't arbitrarily say, oh, because that's a closed property, we can go shut it down because the one next door was. It doesn't work that way. A court's going to kick us out of the courtroom and there won't be any more SCAN. So we can't do that. But that's what I say. I think council and whoever they've got to work with to get an agreement in place that they have the authority to go in and do something with these buildings, that's going to save you a lot of heartache. I'm not going to say it's going to be the end of the problem, but it's certainly going to help.
Thank you. All right. Okay, that's the end of your presentation. Thank you very much, and I appreciate all your efforts. Okay, next up, we got a presentation from Concerned Neighbors Group. I got Peter Fitch and Stacy Arsenault will be presenting. And just bear with, you're gonna have to turn the mic on and off.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We've got the hang of it now, I think.
So I'm gonna turn mine off.
How's that? You can hear me? Oh, thanks. Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak. We know that housing and homelessness are provincial issues. We know that it's not primarily a municipal issue, but you're our leaders, and we just wanted you to understand something of the depth of our concerns. And we feel that we've been living through something that no one should be asked to live through. And it took me some time to come to this conclusion. I was actually at first kind of happy, torn, but happy about the presence of the out of the cold aspect of the shelter. And then little by little, as life went on and as the population in the shelter changes, especially many new people came over the summer. It was almost like a youth hostel for part of the time. I just became more and more convinced that there was something that was intrinsically unhealthy at the heart of the town, and that it was ruining our neighborhood, destroying the peace of the people that live there, but also that it was hurting hurting businesses and hurting the nature of our town. So we just wanted to share that with you and share our ideas for a solution, and I think I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you. And we were prepared for 5 minutes, so we've got it narrowed down to 4 minutes and 44 seconds. But since everything else is expanding, we're going to expand on our time that we're here. And so we had it narrowed down to 3 asks that we have from you tonight. And I think we heard the first one loud and clear with SCAN and municipality and the federal government that's here as well. Create, and this is, I think, can happen, our first ask, create a public safety task force with all parties involved. That includes residents, lots of them sitting in here, pick a couple, MDSS, the government. I've met with the Minister of Social Development. They're happy to sit down, but I think the leadership starts in here. So number one, create that public task force to seek a way forward, to work with the province for a long-term solution. We're all about a long-term solution. We're here to help. Number two, we're formally asking you to advocate for relocation of the shelter. Pass a council resolution asking for the province to move it to a properly zoned, safe, and supported location. Everyone needs safety, both the residents of the shelter and the residents of our community. And number three, and this is where I feel that we need to take some responsibility as a community, is enforce the municipal bylaws consistently. Daily check-ins for loitering, intoxication, disorderly conduct around 9 Main Street and the adjacent properties. The main issues are around the shelter, not in the shelter. Those are our 3 big asks. You know, St. Stephen itself, look at our own website, describes our town as beautiful, which it is, friendly, which it is, built on transition, natural beauty. Tradition, thank you, tradition. I got Peter here to point out, edit all my words as I go along. And community spirit, and I think you're seeing it tonight. That's why people are here. They care for their town deeply. It's a vision to foster growth, safety, and opportunity. But tonight we're here because those same values, safety, compassion, and community, are being tested right in our own neighborhood.
One family with small children simply abandoned their dream home and their life savings, and they moved away. Jason Rideout lost a commercial renter because of an altercation in his business parking lot. Robbie and Shauna Lambert have renters that want to move away from the area in spite of having great jobs. Jill Corning's foot clinic has lost customers because they won't come to the area. Jason Rideout, before the shelter went in, bought the land beside the shelter to produce 3 or 4 garden homes. The Mowers, with Mowers Construction too, were looking to create new housing projects. These opportunities have all been shut down. So more important, this is I guess what most of our neighbors would say, many of us have experienced sleepless nights, extreme anxiety brought on from real encounters, and a sense of living with adrenaline and fear for way too long at a time. There are people that have extreme trauma responses because we're living in what is, not always. Sometimes there were many quiet days during the summer, there were many quiet nights, but at any moment there can be a chaotic outburst. And the chaotic outburst can be a man screaming at a woman, the worst obscenities in our language. You couldn't have children or grandchildren nearby to hear. I have tremendous respect for the director of the lodge, the shelter beside us, Amanda DeGrucci. I'll tell you this because we have watched her get in between a man who was ready to hit a woman screaming at her, and she is ferocious. So I have tremendous respect for her. I think she is a protector of the people in her care. But she should be doing... I believe she should be the director of a better shelter in a better place, because this is just not acceptable to live this way. People have lost value in their homes, people have lost value in their businesses. People are hurting, and the one thing that it has done is it's knit us together as a group of friends and neighbors that have become friends, because we just can't believe what has happened to us. No one of us knew this would happen. It was pushed in without any public consultation, and we understand some of the reasons for that. It was it was difficult, and a solution had to be found, but then it hurts when we hear people say, "Oh, but only 5 people came to an open house." But that open house was 2 days before the opening, after a month and a half of working on the project. The property had been purchased. There was no planned consultation. So we think we are not only the victims of having to live in this zone, we're also the victims of a lot of victim shaming from people that say that we should have a better response. And we're going, we care for the people too. We do. We're hoping for something very good for them. But it's just not right. And something else has happened that I think is really important to say. I think our town had a beautiful vision. Many of us met together about 7 or 8, maybe 10 years ago. We met, over 100 people met together to try to make a dream for what we wanted to see happen here. And we wanted to be in a community that welcomed young retirees and people that would be able to work from anywhere. 1,000 new people in 10 years, that's what we said. And what has happened instead is that as this problem has grown in the center of town, it's like our vision, the vision for the town of a safe, welcoming community, has been kind of hijacked, and we're now being seen, I believe, maybe I'm overstating the case, but I believe we're being seen as a therapy community, because we're the one place in the region where neighborhood work stepped up to the plate, and then social development helped them with $3.1 million in 2024, and I don't know how much for this year. But it's a large money industry that has now suddenly, there are just so many people working for it, so many people caring, and in this, it feels like people are being told from many places, this is where you go. St. Stephen has the resources. We don't have the resources, not for all the different kinds of problems that are coming here. So that seems important to me to say. I think our vision has gone slightly askew.
And the town spoke as well. There was a community safety report that went out back in the spring. And the results of that showed 2/3 of our residents are dissatisfied with personal safety, and 75% feel they're unsafe to walk after dark in our own community. And that was not the way it was. Since the shelter is open, many of us seen, and you've seen it, dozens of police and ambulance visits daily and weekly. And it's sad. It's sad because there's overdoses, there's fights, public intoxication, and no one deserves to feel that pain on the other side, but no one deserves to feel that pain in our neighborhood every day as well. This isn't a homeless shelter right now. It's more of a drug shelter. And there's some people that yes, exactly. And that's what we need. There's other people that are scared to go there, and we need them to have open doors. It's not about compassion, it's about negligence right now going on, and we need to get back to some compassion. People do need a safe place to lay their head at night, and especially this time of year as it moves forward. As Peter said, houses, property values have plummeted. The safety and peace have been taken away from us, just like that. Just like that. And we had no consultation. The public wasn't informed. That is not right neither.
So, I do believe, and I've said recently to CHCO that I believe that Neighborhood Works is doing what it can. I think that the fence was a help, especially for people walking by, but it's not really a help for those of us that live there when there is suddenly a chaotic outbreak of men screaming at women or at each other at 3 in the morning. We multiple nights we have lost our sleep. So, and so many times at 1 in the morning or at 3, the police come. It's five times one night, or five cars at one night. And I just, it's just, I guess I would say this. The other thing that I think the shelter folk have tried their best to do is to uphold standards and to make people, exile people if they don't live up to the standards, if they break a rule or if they're dealing drugs on the property. I've been told that they're allowed to deal off the property but not to deal on the property. So this is what one man told me. And he said that, or what I could say is, when people are asked to leave the shelter or are forced to leave the shelter, that actually is the worst thing for us. Because then people full of adrenaline and anger and often drugs are coming off onto our properties. So the issue isn't always the shelter, it's what's happening around the shelter because of the shelter. There's a magnetic draw, so all kinds of people have come. And in the first days of the shelter, we watched many dealers driving to the shelter for drug transactions. Now we don't see that so much. I think they found other places. Maybe they were told we didn't like that, or the police were watching. I still see that. Yeah, but we don't see it as much. But what I do see now is people coming to the shelter to buy drugs. And I tell you exactly how it happens. People come, they stand outside the gate, and they wait. They'll call in until somebody will come. They'll say what they want. They'll go and find someone. Then they'll walk into the trees on Jason Rideout's property. So I guess it's his fault. Sorry. So they walk into the trees for 3 minutes and then they go their separate ways. It seems pretty obvious to us what is happening there. So this is a center of activity which is actually spiraling the town down. And the current model being used by the shelter too, we think it's not strong enough yet. For instance, one person told me from the shelter, he said, even I think this is crazy. We have everything provided, and then we have our government pensions. We have never had so much money to buy drugs. People have died here. We have people lying in a catatonic state across from our house when fentanyl comes into town, as it did 2 weeks ago. So Mary Ellen and I found 3 people lying in the curling rink parking lot. I saw a man lying with one knee in the air, and we ran up, and they were breathing, but just it seemed slowly. And so we started trying to rouse. We realized there were 3 men there. Couldn't rouse any of them. And so we went back to the shelter and we said, 3 of your people are down, and they're just completely gone. We can't rouse them. And the man said, it was a staff member, and he said, we can't do anything. It's off the property. He said, we don't even know if they're our people. We said, here's some pictures. They're your people. We live across the street. We can tell you who they are. So then at that point, they finally sent somebody, probably with Narcan, and they were able to bring one person back, and then the others were able to come later. It's just, I'm not really prepared in my life to deal with fentanyl overdoses. I haven't had this training. And I don't think most seniors in our community have had that. It feels like this is not enough care around the shelter.
We're almost done. So I have a few questions maybe that you can answer as we move into the next phase, or questions for us if you'd like. We'd love that. But, you know, has St. Stephen considered a request to sit at the provincial table for the new task force that was created? Number two, it's been mentioned there's been extensive work going on by our CAO with social development on shelter issues. What is the progress on that? And can you please fill us in on some of those discussions? Number three, can you give us an idea of what you're talking about in regards to the bylaw enforcement, and what are some things maybe we could expect in the future? And I'll close it off with our ask again, just so we're clear. Here are the three things that we're asking for. Number one, a public safety task force, including all parties. You've got 3 or 4 of them in the room tonight. It'd be a good chance to gather them all up. Number two, a request to the province to relocate the shelter so it's safe for both the residents of the shelter and the residents of our community. We want to help in this. We want to help. And number three, we want bylaw enforcement for the properties immediately surrounding the shelter itself. We thank you all for your time. And, he's got one more thing to say. It wasn't on our speech. You're not allowed to do that.
Just one thing to say. 2 things to say. First of all, thank you guys for the work that you do for our town. I know you take some heat, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members, CAO, Renault, and I just want to thank you for what you do. Number 2, yeah, I know it's not an easy job that you have. Thank you. Number 2, I remember years ago that I was in a conference where I heard a therapist say, he was a marriage and family counselor. He said, if people come to me with an argument and one person says, this is my position, and another person says, this is my position, there's just no way through. But if people come and they say, this is my concern, and the other group says, this is my concern, then using creativity, we can almost always find a way that blends the concerns. That's what we really want to do here. We know there's not going to be a fast change to this, and we want people to be safe through the winter. But we would love to have some kind of sense of how long we have to live like this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy and Peter. Appreciate you stepping up. I know that's a hard thing to do. It's a very tough topic, and I appreciate all your words, and we do hear you. As it alluded to, it is a tough topic that we're talking about, and it's tough for all of us. I'll try to answer some of those questions. The first question, the task force for the province. Yes, I've actually requested myself. I requested even more than just their task force that they have at the province. I'd like to see them have an advisory board and get certain people on that board, because I don't feel that they have not all leaders have all the skills of this issue that we're in. So I want to make sure that those people are at the table, and so that has been requested. As far as the town through Alex's office. We are looking, or not looking, we got a new municipal plan and bylaw going out that we're approving in the very near future that has areas designated for shelters, and we are looking at changing the lay of the land, and so that the shelter does go in the right place, and we are working on that as well. And I don't know if I should speak for Jeff, but I know Jeff and his team are working with the province on how the work is being done and changing and adapting and improving. And I know all that's going on with the staff as well, along with the province through social development and all the different departments. There's a lot of questions there. I'm trying to think. Yeah. What was the? Oh, by law enforcement. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so yeah, I get that. So by law enforcement, you were talking about the neighboring houses. Well, let's talk by law enforcement. It affects the whole area, so it's not just in your neighborhood. About applying by law enforcement to it. Some of those things I know are very challenging. You gotta, the citizen has. I'm gonna actually let Sean talk about that if you don't mind, because I'm gonna mess it up because there is laws and requirements to that. If you don't mind, Sean, or I don't know how you. Do you need this mic? I'll just leave it on. It's on.
Well, first, the boarding up of Star Sign properties. I guess that was brought up earlier, and everybody agreed we should just board them all up. Much like SCAN and other agencies, we can't just do that. There has to be evidence, there has to be very specific criteria, even more specific than what SCAN has, in order for us to act. And in fact, it's much more time consuming, and we're much more restrained than they are. They've got it easy, really, as far as what the hoops they've got to go through to get things done. So properties that have been complaints have been filed or that we see through our patrols, we have acted on. And in actuality, right now, most of the Star Sign properties, if not all, I think are in compliance. We don't have any major issues at those properties right now. From time to time, people will tear some plywood off and go in, and then they're gone, and we go back behind them. But the wave of problems that we were seeing, 2-3 years ago, seems to have somewhat subsided because of the actions of SCAN and town staff. We've shut a lot of them down, and as Inspector LaFrance said, a lot of times they haven't come back, or they come back temporarily and then they're gone.
They go to the shelter.
Okay, but that's not a bylaw issue. So, if we have people in our parks, we have bylaws that allow us to go in and remove them from the parks, but they'll go somewhere else, obviously. Maybe it's the shelter, maybe it's your backyard. And once they're in your backyard, they're out of our hands, so there's really nothing I can do for you or my staff. So it's complicated. There are only so many bylaws that we're able to apply. The types of bylaws that we have are regulated by the province, so we can't just create a bylaw to deal with this. It has to, we're creatures of the province, and the province defines that. So, we appreciate the issues that you're dealing with. It's not easy for us or our staff either. I mean, I have a phobia of needles, and I never would have imagined in my career as a firefighter that I would be sticking needles in somebody's arm to revive them. And my firefighters are the same way. We're traumatized as well because we have to deal with this. We're in these situations. When you call, we respond. And it's not easy. So we can sympathize with what you're dealing with. And we do the best that we can to try and to help you, but we're all on the same team. We want to do what we can. We do the best that we can, and but it's hard for everybody, and I appreciate what you guys are going through.
Oh. Okay, thank you, Sean. And I know the staff. I'm going to even speak for the province. I know that they get their hands full. They're doing their best. They're adapting and changing themselves. No one knew that we're going to get into this situation that we're in. And the province doesn't just have St. Stephen to deal with. They have the whole province, so to say. And they're struggling and changing just as we are. And we've got to still, not saying we don't have to work with them, but we got to keep on it and adapt and change and hopefully put this to rest and get it back to the...
So back to it, I asked the questions, but it took us 3 times to get here at council. We had to, put some public pressure on to get here. That communication has not come out. Like, so, communicate it to us, speak to us. Okay. We've been asking for months and months, and it took us, we actually hired a lawyer. So for you guys to know, we hired a lawyer to speak here tonight. We didn't want to do that. And you had to hire a lawyer to talk to our lawyer.
Yep.
Right? It's like a divorce. We don't want to do that. We want to hear concerned citizens. No, just give me a couple seconds is, we're all here tonight. I feel like, go back to those 3 asks, there should be a task force, right?
Okay. Yeah, so no, just hang on. So to your question, I have been working, I'm not going to call out the citizen that I've been working with in your concern group, but I have been talking with them. They apparently, I thought they were the lead of the group. So anyways, hear me out, Stacy.
I'll hear you out, sure.
All right, I got this to share. And we're only talking, well, it's 3 weeks ago now. It was 2 weeks ago when the legal part started. But 2 weeks before that, we were supposed to have a meeting with the province. That didn't happen. And then no one said that there was not going to be your opportunity. Your opportunity was, I said, if how that meeting turned out with the province, and when I say, sorry, not just the province, the MDSS, social development, and the concerned neighbors, we're all going to sit around the table. That didn't pan out. That was supposed to be the week of the September 15th week. Didn't happen. Then we're going to put it on, and we're going to either, if we had to talk, I was hoping that the meeting might have put us in a better spot. But anyway, we didn't have that meeting. And then we were going to meet in October to satisfy that. And so, no, we didn't need to go legal. That was going to happen regardless. I mean, that kind of put a bump in the road and slowed things down, and because then when you go legal, I got to go legal and cover the taxpayers of the town of St. Stephen in the process. But anyways, so that didn't make it to you, I don't know, but the point is, we are going through that time. We got to allow the province to sit down. Again, I don't know why they didn't do their piece, but anyway.
Just a simple email outlining that probably would have been satisfactory to the group. So I'll just say that.
Yeah. I guess talking doesn't, is that on still? No, please, just let it go. Anyway, we could talk all night about that. I did share my thoughts and concerns and committed to doing the meeting if it needed to happen. After we met, well, again, that meeting didn't happen. It's out of my control. They did not have that meeting. I gave the province the opportunity to do so. But anyways, I shared that. I never once said that we couldn't have a meeting at phone. I felt that getting everyone around the table. And the other group around the table was Neighborhood Works and the shelter group as well. It was supposed to be in that meeting as well. But anyways, I mean, it was done is done. We're here tonight. We did hear this council, the staff, this whole community doesn't want to go through what we're going through tonight, what we're going through in our community. It is a tough thing to go through, and we totally get it. But we've only got so much tools in our toolbox to use. As you guys, sorry, not you guys, the speakers, Stacy and Peter have alluded to, it's going to take all of us to get at the table. And I don't disagree with that, but it's very hard to get us all at the table when they're not coming. And anyways, we just got to keep pushing forward, and things like this meeting will actually help us get us forward. That's one good point of it. Anyways, all right. Thank you, Stacy and Peter, for the presentation. Yes? It's live right now.
Okay, Salon, can you hear me? Well, let me tell you one thing. My heart aches for you people out there tonight. And I can speak about this because I had the same thing when I lived, well, I still live on Riverside Drive, but I had the very same thing. I had an alleged coke dealer living on one side, a meth dealer living on the other side, and up the street we had Tent City. So I know exactly how you feel. And yes, Kathy Bacchus is here tonight, and I think that we should all get together, and I think that that's a good idea that Stacy has, that we form a committee and try to get, I would like to see the council, of the shelter out of town, because I don't believe it should be there. I have a daughter that works in that area, and when I go down to see her or pick her up at night or whatever, it's a disgrace. That area is a damn disgrace. If they're not up drinking, day drinking behind the cenotaph, they're over in the bushes doing other things. So yes, I think it should be moved. I'm only one vote and I'm only one person, but I would like to see exactly what Stacy said. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I'm on the same page as Mark. I've talked to many of you, and I've got to give only one thing. I think one of you gentlemen referred to as homeless, the other gentleman referred to as drug addicts. I've been trying for 3.5 years to define which is which. I cannot. I feel now, in my heart, we have some homeless drug addicts. I'm not sure that how many homeless people we already have, whether it's a 10-90 rule or an 80-20, whatever. My problem is, I think the gentleman, I think you're almost talking against each other when I listen to you. One was saying we're dealing with the homeless, and the other gentleman, basically, I think you were describing a drug pharmacy sitting across the street. We have tried here to define both homeless and drugs. I know that we started out with the very first thing, Earl, Wade, and myself, when we just got elected, we were working up on Union Street with people there that had a building that eventually burnt down. But we worked with them for months. We also toured the area a lot. Big fields, we had some agreements with others. Sean came with us on some occasion on Saturday to look at it, what we could do. We threw a flare up in the air before we got here, and that was the original warming center. I said at the time we were just coming in that we just threw a flare up in the air, come to St. Stephen, because we've got a place to keep you. Now, I feel really bad for you people. I really do, honest to God. I don't have an answer for you. I think you have partial answer, but unless I missed something, nobody mentioned the entire process. 1, we move it. 2, we fill it. 3, we move it somewhere else for those people who want to get cured or they find a permanent home in that facility. Because right now, we just keep moving them around, and hey, I'm just expecting when we run out of spots to put them. I just came out of St. John to you again. I was headquartered there for the better part of 35 years. It's Tent City, everywhere. And I'm scared that, I'm getting scared to hell out of me, that we've got people coming there now that won't have a place to live. We're going to start the next phase. So I'm totally behind you. I'm totally behind what Mark said. And I'm totally behind that we have to work together, people on this side of the table, your side, and probably someone a little higher up and we've got to find an answer. And we're not going to do it by fighting. We get phone calls continually. I do the best I can. The bottom line is I think we're all doing the best we can over the last couple of years, but we tried to start at one place. People didn't want it. They rioted. Go to another place. They didn't want it. They rioted. So we're totally agreeing with you. I think I'm speaking for the whole council. We've had a lot of meetings behind, and we're sick to death of it. And we're trying to figure it out. So I think those 2 gentlemen that are up here should be meeting after this with some of the members of the municipal district, and we grow this thing to the point we take affirmative action. But again, I got to stress, Once we put them in these buildings, the second thing you gotta do is have a path to get them rehabilitated, or they're gonna be back on the street again. I think that's all.
So I also agree, although some people may not have assumed that I would be on that side, but I think the location is not efficient by any means for the residents or the vision that we have for the downtown in our future. I want to apologize for getting frustrated earlier. I work in this field every day. I work with seniors at Extramural, and I have seniors being discharged from the St. John Regional. And I'm trying not to get emotional, but that's why it's hard, because they're serving a purpose and they're working so hard over there. We've got people in wheelchairs. We're sending alarms over to set up hospital beds. And it's frustrating because people go to detox, they beg to not go back because they have nowhere to go. And what do? Send them right back to the original environment that they're in. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about this, but I agree, we need to be at the table together. We need a public task force, but all of these things sound good on paper, and they did before when we tried Happy Valley, and they did before that when we initially had a community uprising about wanting a shelter, demanding a shelter immediately. That's why we issued an emergency order. But what I'm hoping tonight is that I agree with Councillor Cornish and Harding. The community leadership that stepped up tonight is fantastic. I have to give it to, Peter and Stacy for the way they delivered that message in a way that is collaborative, ready to sit at the table and do the work, because that's what we're going to need. And I think tonight we should actually talk about not even a public task force and long-term solution or a moving plan, but what's in the next 24, 48 hours to get you through? Like, is it security that's hired by the province to be outside? Is it bylaw doing our best? But I just want to be realistic and commit to what we can, because as Sean said, we also don't have a significant amount of manpower, and we're all doing the best we can with what we have. But I will not exit this room tonight without a plan, and I think the entire council's on board with that. And communication gets lost up here sometimes too, okay? So I want to be clear about that. Sometimes we are not all in the loop on everything. Tonight, we are all in the loop, and we can move forward together.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. I'm just going to shut this off, and you just turn that one on.
Is it? No? Sorry. Which way do I turn? There? Okay. There's so many things. I do remember when we had a public meeting for the Happy Valley Road. That was a proposed site. I was minister responsible for seniors at the time, and of course the MLA for here. And that was a proposed site out of a number of sites that the government had chosen. So we had a public meeting, and there was so much opposition to that that I pressed pause and said, okay, we have to find another place. Fast forward, there was an election, I'm not in government anymore, and the next thing I knew, excuse me, I knew the same time as all of you knew where the shelter was going. There was no consultation. I had no idea that it was going in the old Masonic Hall. Now fast forward again to your meeting. I can look across, we go back into the legislature next week. If you need meetings with ministers, deputy ministers, whomever, I can march across the floor and say, why didn't you meet with my council? Why didn't you meet? But I can't do it unless you let me know that you want the meeting or that you had planned the meeting. I didn't know about it.
Can I speak on that? Just
yeah.
You got to kill that. Sorry.
Okay?
Yeah, so again, that meeting that didn't happen was, well, I said, it's 3 weeks ago. So you're right, I was going to talk to you about that. But I had to let that process happen. They failed. Okay. Anyway, so the meeting didn't happen. Yes, march across that floor, do whatever you got to do, and get them to come to the table and talk to us, for sure. I just shut that off.
That's, okay? That's how I got the rolling down fire hall fixed. They ordered, get this, the Department of Public Safety ordered a fire truck, new fire truck for the rolling down fire department. It was too big to fit in the fire hall. They needed to redo the fire hall. Anyway, renovate it, whatever. So I just marched across the aisle and said, you guys need to come down. So I had 2 ministers come down and look at the fire hall, and I was told by Ivan Nodden the other day that all the repairs are done. They're just waiting for the fire truck to arrive. So anytime you need contact, if what you're doing isn't working, trust me, I'm ready to help.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, no, I appreciate that support, Kathy. I didn't doubt the fact that they weren't going to have the meeting. This was a surprise, just the way our conversation was going. I did not know that meeting was not going to happen. They did, you know, it was actually, when we were talking, they even suggested it themselves. But I just don't know how we got to not showing up. But that's something maybe you and I can look into, and I appreciate your support on that. Okay. All right. I would love to take a recess because I got to use the washroom. So the next up, we're going to be going into introduction with the staff, a new staff sergeant. But can you just hold that thought just for a second, please? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. There's Mary. Okay, next on the agenda, community safety, introduction to the new sergeant. We have Jeff Peters and, well, I won't introduce the sergeant until Jeff does. I don't want to spoil, you wouldn't have to come up if I said it.
All good? I'll use my police voice so everybody can hear me. Thank you, Your Worship, council members, for having us tonight. I know it's been a while since we've been in here. I think probably going on 8 months or so. Again, we're trying to do this with all of our councils a couple of times a year just to get out and introduce some new members and kind of give you an update what we've been up to. So before I start, I'm going to introduce Sergeant Pierre Ladoucet. He's Scott McKenzie's replacement. He's been in the role now for over 2 months. So I'll give him the mic to introduce himself.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here, by the way. It's been a rough night, I guess, but like we all know what's going on in town and it's not easy for everybody. But I've been here for, I'm 5'1", that's right.
Yeah, you gotta put it down. I'll put it back up after.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so I've been in town for like almost 3 months. I enjoyed my time. I've learned from Scott. Scott is retired, but he was in the area with me, showing me the ropes for the first 2 months. So I'm enjoying it. I've been working in 5 different divisions. I got 19 years of service. So dad of 5 kids. So I know mom and dad's around with concerns that they're experiencing. 5 kids at home. I know exactly what they're talking about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to have an impact if I can make any help on any committees or such, and my experience can be used, or basically if I can participate, I'll be more than happy to do so. After you, boss.
Thanks. So yeah, before we get into the quarterly report there, I'm just going to give you a bit of an update on kind of what we've been up to. First, I'll talk about our staffing. So positive news story. Locally, we are down to 1 hard vacancy in the entire RSC, which is great, including St. Andrews. So a hard vacancy is basically a position that's not staffed and that we don't have anyone planned to come into it. So we've got one empty position in St. Stephen right now. Soft vacancies, which are basically people on long-term sick leave, parental leave, that sort of thing. We've had some positive movement there as well. We've had some people that have moved on through retirement, which is good, and we're currently staffing. We have a vacant corporal position in St. Stephen that's currently in the staffing process, so we hope by the end of the year we'll have somebody in that position, bring them to the meeting to meet everyone. And we've also got a few cadets inbound. We had a large influx of cadets about 8 months ago. I think we had 5 or 6 throughout the RSC. They're all settling in very well. You've probably seen a lot of their faces around. We've lucked out. We've got a really good crop of young members here now. We've also got 3 cadets coming in the next 3 months. 1 in St. Andrews, 1 in St. George, 2 in St. George. So again, that'll help bolster our numbers. District-wise, just as an update, so you're aware, so our district commander, Andy Leclerc, who I'm sure many of you have met, he retired several months ago. So since then, Inspector Mike Berry, again, I know he's been down to some meetings, he has been acting in that role. However, within the last month, we've had Inspector Martin Saunier has promoted into that position of district commander, superintendent. So we're very happy to have him back. You may recall he was here a few years ago as the officer in charge. And he's keen to get down and meet everyone. And like I say, we're very happy to have him back in the district. Our body-worn cameras are rolled out now completely in the RSC. So I'm wearing one. Pierre's got his on as well. Macadam and Graham and Ann were the last 2 detachments to get them, and that was simply a logistical issue. We had some issues with infrastructure at those 2 locations. So everybody in the RSC has them. They're wearing them. So when you see them, the green light doesn't mean it's recording. Everybody has always asked me that. It's not. It means it's ready. If it's red, it's recording. So our policy is available to the public. Anybody who's interested in seeing that, it's fairly simple policy, but it's basically when we go to a call, we turn them on, we leave them on for the duration. There's issues around obviously privacy and things like that that are covered off through a vetting process when the files go to court. So we're very happy with them so far. Without talking all night about them, but we're seeing a reduction nationally. We've seen a reduction in public complaints, which is good, and it's also easier to resolve public complaints. So, for example, we receive public complaints, for somebody's claiming an excessive use of force. The body-worn camera will show quite quickly. So, as supervisors, we review all the files every day when we go into work, and that's something that we're able to do and go in and immediately, and it paints a really good picture. So. Part of our job is to articulate how things happen. When you have camera footage to show it, it just gives an extra level of transparency. So again, very, very good system. We're very pleased with them so far. Traffic enforcement, I know it's everybody's favorite topic in the room. We recently had a very successful weekend. We participated in Operation Impact, which is a national traffic initiative across the country, focusing on distracted driving, dangerous driving, people driving under the influence. So Pierre just did a media release on that. If it's not out today, it'll be out in the next day or 2.
It is out.
It is out, okay. Highlighting our numbers. So we had some good results from that over the weekend. And we continue to have our tactical traffic enforcement unit visit us on a regular basis. And again, I know it's not a popular topic, but these folks do a fantastic job. One of our priorities is road safety, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that we don't need more road safety. We have a lot of serious fatalities and injury collisions. We just had a fatality yesterday in Macadam. So again, road safety is not everybody's favorite topic, but it's something that's important to us, and we're going to continue to focus our efforts on that, and we appreciate the work that our traffic unit does when they're in town. Community engagement, positive news stories. We were quite busy over the summer, as I'm sure you've seen. We participated in a lot of Canada Day activities throughout the RC. Including the Canada Day Parade in St. Andrews, the International Festival Parade here in St. Stephen. And we also had quite a few events that we helped out with down in Eastern Charlotte and Fundy Shores, including the Sandcastle Festival and the Fundy Shores Community Days. And one of our big initiatives, very successful, was our Cops for Classrooms, and this was a kind of a brainchild of our Inspector Mike Berry. So we do the Cram the Cruiser a couple times a year to support the local food bank. This one was in support of mostly elementary schools across the county. So we set up 3 of those in August, one here at the Charlotte Mall, one in St. George, and one in St. Andrews, and basically solicited donations from both businesses and residents, and we're just overwhelmed by the support that we got. A lot of local businesses contributed quite a bit of money, and our community policing officer kind of spearheaded and organized all that, and she ensured that those supplies were all pushed out to the local schools. So really, really positive and really appreciative of the people and the businesses in Charlotte County helping out with that. And schools, now the school's back in, we're targeting our school zones. That's one of our priorities as well, to be out enforcing traffic in the school zones. And we have an officer dedicated to each school, and we work on they're called SAFE plans. So those are our plans where we focus on if something happens, bad happens in the school, that we have a response plan. So those are updated on a regular basis. We've been helping them with lockdown drills and their evacuation drills and whatnot, so quite a bit of activity there. And as I'm sure you've seen, we've had our news stories. We're trying to do a better job of keeping those pushed out, our positive news stories. And I just want to take the time to say that I'm extremely impressed with the hard work that our members are doing throughout the RSC, and we're trying to highlight that in media releases. And specifically over the past couple of months, we had a number of fairly significant drug seizures, and these were all solely based off of hard work of our officers. So these aren't things that are just falling into our lap. They're doing the hard work, and they're getting drug seizures and charges as a result. So we're continuing to work on that. It's obviously, sometimes it feels like you're taking a few drops out of a bucket, but that's we chip away at it and we do what we can. And sometimes these smaller ones will lead to bigger ones later on. So again, a lot of hard work being done. Something else I want to touch on, I know it's a touchy subject, but ATVs. We're trying to, basically in a nutshell, we're trying to reduce the unsafe behavior that we're seeing on a regular basis, mostly here in St. Stephen, King Street, Milltown Boulevard, a lot by the high school, and on the 4-lane around St. Stephen. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, I'm not going to lie. It's not, it's people say the common thing, you have nothing better to do. Well, it's road safety, and we're trying to prevent people from dying. So it's frustrating for us to hear people, say that we're picking on people or we got nothing better to do. It's part of our job. And we don't chase these things. There's most of them, they don't stop, and they create an unsafe behavior when they're fleeing from us. So we're trying some different things to try to curb some of these behaviors. I think we've had some success. We're going to continue working at that, and again, with the goal of preventing people from becoming seriously injured or dying, like we saw yesterday in Macadam, sadly. And we also had a serious, several months ago on the St. David Ridge off-ramp, we had a very serious collision that surprisingly wasn't a fatal, but it was bad. So this, again, this is our goal with these activities. With that, I'll skip over to our quarterly report. You folks received a copy of that? And I apologize, I do know the quarter 1 report was late coming out. We're now past the end of quarter 2, so I'm anticipating that report within a few weeks, hopefully. I don't know if you have any questions on that specifically. I can, again, not going to go through the thing line by line, but if there's any questions or concerns, feel free.
Yeah, I don't know if we still need the mic or not.
I could probably speak loud enough. People hear me back there? Okay, so just with regards to the RSC 10 priorities, can you explain for the public how those were chosen? And can you give a little explanation of each of the 3?
Sure. So our policing priorities, we work under an umbrella system in the RCMP called the Annual Policing Priority System. So every unit and detachment in the country falls under this program. And basically the purpose of it is for us to remain accountable to our communities and the people that we serve. And it's every year, as most of you know, on council, is we meet with the mayors and councillors across the RSC, and we have a priority setting session is what it's called. So we listen to feedback, we give our presentation, and we listen to feedback from you folks, believing that you're getting information from your constituents as to what they would like to see the police doing. So we try to keep them to around 3. It's something, so for every priority we have objectives and initiatives and things that we measure and track. So these aren't just things that we throw out and say, well, we'll do this, and then we don't have hard numbers to come back with. So they don't generally change a whole lot, as you can appreciate in rural New Brunswick. They're pretty much the same everywhere, but our most, and this year and for the last couple of years, our priorities have been road safety, police presence, and community engagement. So that's kind of a all-encompassing thing from being present at community events, being in the schools, and police visibility, which I know is a huge issue. We hear it every time we go somewhere, and it's one of the big things that we try to work on. So it's police visibility. And then our third one is generally rolled into, it's called crime prevention, crime reduction, and that also encapsulates drug crime. So those are the 3 areas. So for each of those things we have measures and initiatives that we work on and that we track, and we try to publish as much. We don't break it down as detailed as it is, but we try to give a good review of it in our quarterly reports.
Okay. Do you need a mic?
I just want to say thank you, because I've noticed a huge change within the last year. There's consistent patrolling happening. I've noticed, even around the shelter area, which is a hot spot, I've had to call 2 or 3 times, and the response time is fantastic. I've also been hearing feedback from some of the high school students. I know they're not happy about what's happening out there, but I know a young man who was stopped the other night, and the officers were just really fantastic with him, saying, you didn't flee on us this time, so we're gonna talk about this, right, and what's required with safe ATV use. So it's just been really great to see developing relationships with kids in community too, and youth, because that's, in my perspective, that's where crime prevention starts. So I just noticed a big change, and I just want to thank you for it. And I've heard that positive feedback from other constituents too. So just know that even though sometimes you're given the same kind of calls over and over again, your work is really effective in terms of how the community is perceiving your presence on the ground. So thank you.
Well, Emily just broke the way for me, so I'm going to continue on that. I mean, as you alluded to tonight, you're almost fully staffed now, and we are seeing that change. And the other thing, I'd love to thank you two both for attending the public safety meeting with the Minister Gavin when he was here. The new sergeant, you had a lot to bring to the table, and I was quite impressed with the experience you're bringing to our community. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to continue working with you. So thank you for that, and of course we appreciate you, Jeff. You got that local feel back to us, and we're really appreciating that too. So thank you. And the more we see you, I've even had the mayors from other communities coming, and when we had that meeting, they're like, "What's with all the police around here? We don't have that." So I don't want to stir that up. Well, I just did. Anyway, I appreciate your presence, and we appreciate the work you got to do as well. It's a tough job, and as even Sean has to deal with it. I know what John has to deal with. I know what you guys deal with. It's challenging when you got people not liking you doing traffic enforcement, but when you're dealing with someone that died yesterday. I mean, that's why we do it. And anyway, I appreciate the effort you guys put in, and my thoughts are with you both on everything you guys do and how you handle it. So I appreciate that. Get that back to you. Are you guys done?
No, that's pretty much all I had. I will put Pierre back on the spotlight here again. So just talking about, it's not specifically represented here on our quarterly report, but we do, it's something we talk about regularly, but our mental health calls, we're not seeing a drop in that. And just so everyone's aware, a mental health call is anything from somebody having a bad day up until somebody's armed with a weapon, you know, barricaded in a house, and everything in between. So I won't steal your thunder here. So Pierre's done, since he's been here in a short time, he's done a fantastic job working with our mobile mental health crisis team. So I just want to give a little...
Yes, I was fortunate enough to have the chance to work in 2 different divisions that were exposed to that difficulty. And the first one, I was exposed to that first unit, so it was already in place. So I had the benefit of working because the system was already, the mobile unit was already working, they were already deployed, they were coming to calls with us. So I can see the good aspect of it and the benefit of that. So when I was transferred out from the North Labrador to New Brunswick, I was transferred to Richbucto where they had 1 worker. So from that perspective, I was like, I left a northern post where I can see polar bears and they have a mobile unit, and now I come to somewhere where I have an A&W and they don't. So I was like, that's pretty weird here. So anyways, I work with Danielle, that's locally, she was the only worker at the time. We developed a program together, we reached out, we collaborated, and now they have a full unit with 4 workers attached to it, and a whole, like nurses and all, the medical side of it is very involving, it's very successful. So when I got here and I met Andrea, the local worker here, the coordinator, I'm like, we need to talk, right? So we had a small meeting, a quick one, just for me to introduce myself, because I've been here not even 12 weeks, but I promise it's part of my to-do list, and that's what I would like to see, because the benefit of having those deployment with us on the street makes the whole difference. And if the medical field is well connected to us, the success of bringing the people to the right spot will make the whole difference, because even though we go there 25 times, a police officer will not fix a medical problem. So as much as we have a big heart, we all want to do and to be successful for our communities, I don't have the tools and expertise to deal with a medical condition. So those units are usually well trained, well deployed, so I'm really looking forward to get that done. But give me time and I'm working on it, I promise.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. And that was one of the topics that you brought up. I like the fact that you brought that experience with you, that you said, well, this is how we did it here. Why aren't we doing it here? And I'm glad you're sitting at the table and having that experience and sharing it with our provincial counterparts here to take care of it. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And welcome to St. Stephen. Okay. Okay, next up is Conservative Court basketball court update. Where is David? I don't even see you anymore. You're way over there. You got any update today, or?
It's in your package, it's in the agenda.
Okay. Any questions on the agenda from council? Okay, thank you. And we got no update on the healthcare. Okay, next is International St. Croix River Watershed Board, water quality monitoring update to be provided by myself. I had a meeting with the board just last week. Quite impressed with the board, by the way. They definitely know the job and they're very passionate about the river systems, not just St. Croix, many of them. And they certainly showed that in the meeting with me last week. And so I do feel it's in good hands. We did come up with some scenarios of helping them, and that's by when we do see, like for instance, the brown foam when it's coming. We got the numbers, and we shared the numbers to make sure you call those numbers so they can get those tests. They want to take those tests, and the data is important for them in their role. But anyways, so it was a good outcome of the meeting, and I'm looking forward to seeing some improvements in our river system, and we'll keep in constant dialogue with them with our residents and concerns brought forward.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. It's on already.
Okay, I know that Mayor has met with this committee, and I was the prime representative of this committee about 4 months ago when I basically said I was there to pee on their parade, because basically the bottom line is the total presentation was totally absent of pollution. It was basically clean water, number of fish in the water, speed of the water, etc. So I think I got their attention to the point where they did get back to the mayor, and they did form a subcommittee, I believe. I'm not sure if it's necessary or not. That's what they were intending to do, to basically look at pollution. But I still feel I failed, because I brought this up because we have never got a report back on our air pollution monitor system in Upper Mills from the New Brunswick side. It's still sitting up there with whirligigs on it and everything else. We haven't got one bit of data if there's any pollutants in the air, basically coming from the Woodland Mill. I was talking to a gentleman that's, I believe, in the know, and he basically told me that the problem with the Woodland Mill, they've got some kind of a paddle system that takes care of this pollutant stuff, and they broke one wheel and now, or rim, excuse me, paddle, they put a new one in and it doesn't work. I'm very concerned that they're dumping this stuff on certain nights, high tides, etc. Now I've got a gentleman down the river, and the councilor sitting next to me, same thing, she's been down there canoeing, and he's collecting water samples. And I believe he's probably the only one that's collecting water samples, and the bottom line is, they said that our water, this group here, and the group in St. John, took one water sample and said the river is good. Horse poop. People are dying of cancer. That may be it or not. I've been fighting this thing for 50 years. I've seen paint peeled off of buildings. I've seen fish crawl on shore. I've seen the river washed out completely from Woodland Mill right to the down here. It took 20 years for it to come back. I don't want to see it again, but I'm not getting anywhere again. Now this report comes out, it says on page 6 of this report that the water in Forest City, which is at the beginning or the mouth of the St. Croix River, somewhere's up there, and the Milltown are almost identical, that the water is good. Horse poop. The bottom line is, the report that was given to us was tested in 2024. I'm not sure it was January or December. It was 2024 is when they took the sample of the water, and we've had a lot of pollution come down that river ever since. I'm not done with it yet, and I'm disappointed that I have failed. But I'm going to do my best to see if I can do anything about that river. But right now, one man came to me when I was at that meeting, took me aside, I don't even know who he was. He says, just the minute you mention the word, the mill, on that side they panic because they think they're going to shut it down. You don't have to shut the mill down. Irving didn't shut the mills down. They correct the situation. And all we're asking for is correct the situation. We enhanced the pollution of the river when we tore the dam down. If I am correct that that river is polluted, then we're letting a bunch of fish go up the river that's going to pollute the whole river because they're going to ingest that stuff that they're dumping in there. That's all I'm going to say. I apologize that I have failed so far, but I ain't done with it.
I don't think you failed, Brian. It's sped things up. Okay. Appreciate your work on that, though. Okay, we got the next is a development agreement resolution, the copy of council resolution adopted open session after the closed session at October 1st, 2025 regular council meeting. All right, is there any, what am I doing here? So hold on here, so.
That's for the dog.
Hmm? Yeah. So do I, is there any questions or comments on that? Hmm? What's that? Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just don't have it. I have to. Anyways, our last council meeting, after close, and to make sure, because no one was here after we come out of close, so I want to make sure everyone understands that. And I mean, you've all seen it in the news, anyways. The development agreement with Border Arena property and location, and there's a 66-unit building going in. I'm happy with council and staff getting really aggressive on the housing issue that we're in, and I appreciate the work. I appreciate Jeff making that formula work for us, and I 100% appreciate Tressa and her family to building another building in our area. And I can't forget Rivers and Future St. Stephen's work on that as well. So I appreciate all the work on that. It all came together. It's a great location. It's close to all the amenities. It's going to be a game changer for us. It's going to help this housing issue. It's related to everything we talk about tonight. It's going to help us with. And anyway, so I appreciate everyone's efforts, and I appreciate the developer for stepping up and working with us in this community once again. And so yeah, so thank you, and I mean that to council as well. I mean, we had to step up to the plate on these, and I appreciate the work. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. It is affordable housing, and there's been confusion that they're renovating the rink. No, the rink is being taken off site, and it's a whole new building. A 3-story building too, which again, I'm very excited about this, and it's happening right away too. That's the reason we got aggressive here as a community, to speed up the process and get it here as soon as possible, and they're up for it too. So I'm looking forward to moving on that. Okay, thank you, and let's get into all the fun stuff here. Departmental reports. Let's start with the CAO report. Oh, geez. Oh, I'll get a Charlie horse too. You're probably gonna have to go over.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Long meeting, fortunately short CAO report. Amazingly, because for half the reporting period, I was on what I'll say is a much appreciated leave of absence from the office. But as you said, the first item in my report speaks to the work with the Dock Incorporated, which is something that has been a long time coming, and we're happy to get that over the finish line. And the rest of my time has been almost solely dedicated to 2026 municipal budget preparations. A lot of thanks to the small but engaged group that came out to our first public session. I thought we had some really good conversations and strategies brought to the table that have been recorded. And now I'm currently prepping the second meeting as promised, with some numbers and stuff to look at. Tentatively, that date will be October 28th, which is a Tuesday night, here in this facility. Advertising for that event will be coming out probably before the end of this week, as we just kind of slated the date in this afternoon. I will say that it's in my report as well. A couple of things that are affecting this municipal budget is the assessment freeze by our friends at the GNB. As I said at the public session, for those of us that own property, an assessment freeze sounds really good. For those of us that are on the municipal management and governance side, it's another challenge. I will say though, my early predictions of a 1% growth for new growth were exceeded when the actual numbers came in. We're at 1.5% growth. So that did give us a little bit of leeway to do some planning around. And then just recently, since following the writing of this report, our friends at the Government of New Brunswick have provided us our funding allotments under the new funding framework that the department has instituted. We were fortunate that the new funding formula is going to prove a significant assistance to us in 2026. we're still taking a look at the best way to apply those funds, and I think that's going to be some of the conversations we have with the public as well when we're looking at what we can do with some of these monies, whether that's reducing taxes and doing more and enhancing bylaw enforcement, whatever may come from these conversations that we'll be able to bring back to council as well. But everything's on the table as far as administration is concerned. And with that, I think that wraps up my report, so I'm happy to take questions if there are some.
No, you might as well keep that and hand it over to the Deputy CEO reporter. Thank you, Jeff.
My turn?
You're up.
All right. I too don't have a lot to say tonight, thankfully. You have my reports. The alarms are typical. We're at that just over 30 for the period, which is normal. I would like to say that fires, we've gotten through what we would call our traditional fire season. That being said, still haven't really had any rain. We're getting cool nights and we're getting some moisture, some dew and frost and things like that. That is helpful, but fires can still happen, so we still need to be vigilant and be careful despite the fact that there is not a ban. We still need to be careful out there. Another public service announcement, I guess, water conservation. People that follow our social media and our alertables and the media in general will have heard that we're in a water conservation mode here in the town. We need to continue with that, and that's going to be an ongoing thing. That's not something that a little bit of rain's going to fix. We've been seeing trends, downward trends in our water reserves going back a number of years, mainly because of climate change and things like that. So the expectations need to be tempered that things are just going to bounce back. If it took 4 years for us to get this way because of a lack of rain, it would take 4 years of excessive rain to bring us back to where we were 4 years ago. And that's the reality of where we are. A few rainstorms are not going to get us out of this mode where we have to think. And I think that's nationwide, province-wide, area-wide, worldwide. Really, water is becoming an issue, so we need to be aware of that. Asphalt program. We've now spent our budget. David and I were looking at the numbers, and so basically we're done spreading asphalt unless it's for emergencies. We had a good year because of the weather, where we were able to stay right at it. There are a lot of things that didn't get done that we wish we had more money that we could do, but next year will be another year. So we can still fill potholes with cold patch and things like that, but our efforts to cover large swaths with skim patching is over for this year. I guess that's probably my highlights for my report. I'm open to any questions of council.
Oh, Councillor? Go ahead.
Everybody hear me? Just with regard to the drought and the water supply, has there been any thought given to a contingency source if we did get to the point where our wells and reservoirs were low enough that we couldn't use them? I know it costs money to put a contingency plan in place, but have we looked at the river or sections of the river where the water might be clean enough, or any other contingency source of water that we could use if things got that bad?
Thank you, Jeff.
You're getting your steps in, Jeff. In short, yes, very high level. Jeff and I have spoke with our cohorts at Dillon Consulting about things like this. The province has announced changes are coming to water quality standards province-wide, which may open some opportunities for us in that regard. Do we have something definitive in place right now if that were to happen? No. But I think the fact that we're having this conversation is positive, and the public needs to understand that that's where we need to go. There are changes coming. They won't be cheap, for sure. And because of that, we need to look at, well, our water system that we currently operate is 125 years old. We need to be looking at what does our community need for the next 125 years. And that's really where we are. We're at that point in the life of our community where these are things that we need to consider. If we're going to spend a lot of money to deal with provincially, federally mandated water quality standards, does it make sense to invest it there? Or do we invest it somewhere else that's going to be a more reliable source for the future? So that's where we are. And I don't have the answers, the solutions, but at least we know we have an issue and we are talking about it. So that's positive. So stay tuned for what's coming in the next few years, I guess.
Okay, no, thank you. There's no further questions on that. We'll step over to Kev Sumner. Parks and Community Services report.
Okay, will you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. Just like my colleagues, yeah, the report, it does speak for itself, and I'll try and summarise as best I can. Come to the end of the summer, and we've gone into preparing for the winter. Students have gone back. We're working through some of the end of year projects. As highlighted there is the Parks crew helped with a project in Milltown, which we've been waiting to do for a while, just with the weather. It's been very hot and dry, so I haven't been able to do that. We assisted with NB Power and the Milltown Ball Diamond, which is open to the public. It's not. We're not scheduling games yet. We're hoping to work with NB Power on that, but we'll stay tuned on that. The Rotary Field, it's coming to the end of the season. The middle school is still using that on a daily basis. I want to thank Sean and Dave and the crew for assisting there, and with the help at the Charlotte County Fall Fair that made that a success. And other projects that have come to an end is the Milltown pool liner is in place. It's holding water, and we're also in a position with the greenhouse that's up at Union Street. That's just going through some final changes. There's some things that come up because it's a brand new building, and we're working on processes. So yeah, it's been that, and as Jeff alluded to, working with staff on budgets and capital budgets. One of the examples there is we did go over budget on one of our parks vehicles, which is not the oldest. It's actually second oldest, and it just highlights that the fleet is getting older, and yeah, we try and do our best to make them work, but yeah, some things it just won't be able to pass. So I'll cut it short there as I've talked long enough, and if there's any questions, I'll gladly take them. So.
Nope. Yes, I guess we do. Yep.
Thank you, Kevin. Not really a question, but a statement. I just wanted to go back to the Charlotte County Fall Fair, and I wanted to thank the staff here for the wonderful support that they provided. A lot of staff, they were there all day buzzing around. A lot of resources went to that, and it was a real success this year. I also want to just publicly thank all the volunteers for the Charlotte County Fall Fair, the people that are on the Fall Fair committee. They start in January, and they're just finishing all the cleanup stuff now. It's a huge effort, and you know, and the municipal district helps make that possible. Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's good. I'll I'll wait until we go through the whole of the reports. Next up, Frank, Treasurer Report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't think I even need this, really. Reports in front of you. I'll just skim over the highlights there. Posting of water receipts. We had collected 127,000 during the month. I know there's been questions in the past with regards to collections, so we ran a report the other day, and actually receivables were down from where they were at the end of the year, so that's positive. Probably more good fortune than it is active planning, because we still are challenged with regards to staffing. And as I indicated in the past, one of the things that we're hopeful for, and it's not something that's lost to me, but one of the things that we're hopeful for is that when we get on the new processes right now, and I'll speak to it in a minute anyway, we're working certainly on our accounts payable and hopefully in the future our payroll processes, which should streamline it and free up time, and hopefully this is one of the areas that well, it's not even hopeful, it's one of the areas that we'll be attacking. On the general fund side, that's on the utility side, and the general fund side, collected just a little over $1 million. Just a little over 900,000 of that represents collections for our budget funding from our 2024 budget, as well as our unconditional grant. And the remainder is for various credits, rental payments, interest credits, and transfers from the RSC and some miscellaneous stuff. The check register is part of the report. We're 207 payments totaling 1.6 million during the month. Payroll processing 266 payments totaling 260. Boy, that's a big number. 267,000. I think it's a typo there. And in addition, CRA payments totaling 109,000, and pension payments totaling 40,000. Pension management has become. There's been some changes with regards to our administrator, and there's been a lot more work and a lot more requirements than what we've seen in years with regards to what they're looking for. And I know that Nikki has taken on a big part of this. Excuse me, Nikki is one of my staff. She's assistant treasurer, and she's taken on a big part of working with them. And it seems to be it's ongoing that that we're providing them with information and various forms. Assistant treasurer herself, other than that, has been working primarily with our finance clerk to keep things going, and also with regards to the training, again with the new accounts payable process. My time working on seems accounting is the least of my time, but my time has been primarily, as with the CAOs, it's been primarily on budget, and in terms of updating, in terms of maintaining spreadsheets that we're utilizing, and we are working towards finishing that process off and then moving into more of the accounting updates. I haven't been as involved in terms of the processes with regards to the accounts payable. I probably will be when the payroll comes on, but our team has been actively involved with that and moving forward. I've got HST filing this month. It's due by the end of the month. HR, which really didn't have a lot to do with in the past, but now I've got the process of, we seem to have a lot of turnover. There was a lot of turnover, I guess, from the summer to fall because of students that were leaving. And so in September, we had 9 record of employments that were completed and filed, various meetings. The project updates, and I've alluded to this during this presentation, accounts receivable flat rate, well, I haven't mentioned this one, but accounts receivable flat rate building project, that went very well. It was a challenge, and even it was easy probably the easiest part of this was actually determining what the rate was going to be, even though that was a challenge in itself. And once council approved where we were going with that, then it came down to logistics. How are we going to deal with it? And I especially want to thank Blair Furlot and Melanie Nielsen, which are staffing of Sean's staff, because without their help, we would not have been able to move forward. They basically went through the list. We essentially have different categories, so we're dealing with residential, commercial, industrial, and what we call multi+5. And the flat rate part deals with residential. So residential is any self-contained residential unit essentially up to 4 units, and it would be subject to that flat rate. And those bills have actually, and we've had a lot of help as well with our municipal accounting software team. There's a chap there, Randy Joyce, out of Halifax. Guy's excellent. And he very quickly made the changes that we needed in the software, because this is not a simple process. We had basically 2,000 accounts, the majority of which had to be changed. And he made very quick work of it. The guy's a computer programmer, and he knows the product. So he's not going to know that I said this, but I really do want to thank him for the assistance that he helped to make sure that those bills get out on time. The bills have been printed, and they're in the process now of stuffing them into envelopes and getting that ready. The challenge now is how we're going to get it to you. I think we are going to mail them. There is, the timing that you'll get that is out of our control. We'll let you know that if you're a residential, non-commercial, residential, up to 4 units, and not counting any past amounts that might be owed, you're going to owe $150 for this quarter. And you'll owe $150 for the next quarter, and then we'll be looking at where the budget takes us. So, but bills are due. They're going out next week or two. They're due by the end of November before there would be interest charges, additional interest charges related to that bill. And whether you get your bill or not, it's due. So if you're not sure, call us. If you don't get the bill, call us, and we'll take a look and let you know what your balance is. Accounts payable. Challenge there as well with regards to the mail strike. We had been holding back in terms of putting things in the mail, although certainly some of our payments had made the mail just before the strike. We went through this a few months ago, and if you're a vendor and you're local, we're holding your checks, and this is what we've been doing up till now, holding the checks, purelating the ones that were outside, and if we knew somebody was going to St. John, Fredericton, Moncton, whatever, then delivering or requesting that those contractors, if they know they're going to be in the area, pick up the checks. I don't see that changing in the short term. The mail is now being delivered. I got some mail today, surprisingly enough, but I'm not comfortable at this point that I don't want my vendors waiting for their money. So I'm not comfortable at this point, so I think we'll continue with the process until we get into something that's more predictable. The accounts payable project, as I mentioned throughout this, what's now become a speech, the accounts payable project is progressing. They're sort of working at the front end of this. We haven't started training. Right now, what they're doing is developing the processes that are required, because it isn't something where you just come in and you buy it off the shelf and you stick it up and all of a sudden you're up and running. They've got to tailor how this works to how we work. And our team is working with their team to make that happen, and we should be very quickly moving into the next stage, which will be actually testing and then training our staff. And payroll, we're still looking at a timeline on that, but hopefully that'll be happening pretty soon as well. If you have any questions, I'm open to attempt to answer them or to get back to you.
Thank you, Frank. I guess we should have put you up first. Okay, next up is Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission Planning Department.
Is it working? No. This working? Yeah. All right, thank you, Your Worship. So there is a draft municipal plan bylaw and report attached with some minor changes that council had recommended at the last meeting. So we're recommending a second referral to the Plan Review and Adjustment Committee. There's also the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw went through a public information session and a public hearing of objections. And the feedback from that is summarized in an attached report. And so there's some possible changes out of that based on the feedback from citizens, the provincial departments, and protective services at the MDSS. So if changes are accepted by council, we'd also recommend a second referral back to the planning committee prior to a third and final reading. The planning committee approved a private access that created 5 new building lots off Route 740. Year to date, you've had 118 building or development permits issued, 18 last month, and you've had just about 11 million in new construction value and 45 new homes permitted year to date, which is very good. In the last month, you've had 8 new building lots in total, so some really good development activity is occurring. And that's my report. Thank you.
No questions, council? Okay, thank you, Alex. Future St. Stephen report.
Right on. Thank
Rivers.
you, Your Worship. Highlights for what we really went through in October was the dock. And I want to echo your words also. If all the deals are this easy, then my job is really going to be easy. So thank you so much, and Jeff, in particular with you, it was wonderful working with you on that dig. Thank you. Actually, we've had the hazmat report and environmental phase 1 report back for the dock already, and everything came through squeaky clean. So they're proceeding forward. The next thing they wanted to know, by the way, was when the stuff is going to be out of the arena. And I'm looking over at Sean, and I know and Jeff, but ultimately I know that that's what they need to have done with their stuff. I've been exploring some other avenues. I had a very interesting conversation with a developer this week, so you can know that this town is attracting people and activity and buildings to it also. So that's good news. One of the things that we wanted to do was to work with the high school specifically related to their trades strategy. I don't know if you've ever heard how much they engage in the process of introducing trades and or business opportunities and or employment opportunities, but it's quite extensive and it's very, very strategic. And so we've been working with them to see how we can help them with regards to their trades. We had a site visit to Connection Works. I know that's an ongoing conversation, but where it's at right now, we're going to be taking a look at the old Dooley's location and just putting a schematic plan in place so that we can start to really look at how it might look if indeed we want to go in that particular site. So that's it for me too. I'm short and sweet. Any questions?
No. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have the municipal plan. Is that loaded up? The municipal plan bylaw M-4, proposed resolution that the amended draft of the municipal plan bylaw M-4 be referred to the PRAC, requesting their view on the subject document. And you don't want to vote on that, you just want to nod? Okay, you want to vote, okay. Yep, so is there any questions on that? Oh yeah, so you should start from the movement. Yeah, you'll move. Councillor Wright, seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Greenlaw? And I'll ask questions again, sorry. All right. And the mover, we have seconder, no questions. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, I'll take a mover and seconder for zoning bylaw Z-4, proposed resolution that the staff be directed to incorporate the recommended changes to the zoning bylaw Z-4 and refer the amended draft of the bylaw to the PRAC requesting their views. Councillor Harding and I think Councillor Heislip down there. Questions? And we do have a question here.
So this is for the Z4. Okay. So this is for the Z4, correct? So I sent you a few questions today, and I really appreciate the answers. So on the R3, when you subdivide, you talked about 53 meters on the road, which is fine. But what's the total area of the lot have to be if you want to subdivide? Is it an acre or is it more?
All right, yes. Oh. Good. Yeah, so to answer this question, this is a question about resource development lots. So this is a R3 is your resource zone. It permits a variety of uses, including agriculture, forestry, resource excavation uses, and homesteads like houses. So you can do a variety of uses. Some of these are fairly intensive, and so they require a little bit more land than a typical residential lot. You could still subdivide at 54 meters of frontage with that zone, but you would require 5 acres, which is 2 hectares of land for that lot. So it would be like a longer rectangular lot. So you have space in the rear of it to do said uses. If somebody were looking to develop one of these for a residential subdivision, what they would do is they'd bring forward an application to council, and council would look at if we want to change that area from a resource development area to a rural residential area. And that would be a decision of this body to make. So, however, it could still be subdivided in that existing zone just within those provisions.
Could you do a variance?
You could do a variance if you had a situation, let's say the land was like you had an unusable portion that was maybe in a reasonable situation. There's no real viable path to use it for a resource development, or there was a resource development you could do that potentially may have had need a smaller amount of land. So yeah, there could be chances for reasonable variance as well. So it would have to be a consideration of adjacent farmers. Is that going to be a residential development that may be going to create odor complaints for them? Because this is a zone to also protect the farmers as well as the sawmill operators, and consideration of their needs to operate their business without interference.
And the last one would be, we talked about the apiaries in Ward 2, and whether that would be grandfathered thing or whether it would be enforced immediately.
So to be grandfathered, you'd have to be legally permitted at some point in time. So if there was, let's say, a situation where somebody established an apiary, but they never got a permit in a location that didn't permit it, well, just if you adopt a new bylaw, it doesn't mean they're grandfathered. To be grandfathered legally non-conforming means you have to be legal at one point in time. So if you have a situation where someone's operating an apiary that's causing issues, and I understand the issues that you relayed to me, then that would be something that if it was a bona fide violation of a zoning bylaw in effect by council, then yeah, it's something that could be dealt with.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Looks like we're good. Okay, thank you, Alex. All right, so we had we didn't approve this yet, so I had a mover, we had a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Yeah, I need a mover and seconder. It wouldn't be right if I didn't get Councillor Harding and Councillor Rodas. Thank you very much, folks. Meeting adjourned.